A medevac plane that crashed and exploded in a heavily populated area of Philadelphia on Friday was carrying a child and 5 others on board, including the child's mother. That's according to Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, the company that operated the aircraft. There were no survivors. One other person was killed and more than a dozen were injured on the ground, Philadelphia Mayor Cheryl Parker said at a news conference on Saturday.
We can also confirm that at least one other person perished in this tragedy, and this individual was in a car. We can confirm that there are also a number of other victims who were injured in this incident, and they are being treated in area hospitals. And thus far, our count is that there are 19 injured victims. But again, this is not etched in stone. The investigation is ongoing.
Video aired on local TV stations showed the plane in a sharp dive before hitting the ground and exploding in a massive fireball. LiveATC.net captured audio of air traffic controllers at Northeast Philadelphia Airport trying to get in touch with the aircraft.
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056 Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower.
Digit 755, we have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out.
Officials said it was not clear what led to the crash. The weather was cold and rainy and with low visibility when the plane went down. Videos taken by witnesses and shared on social media showed body parts strewn about the streets and inside nearby homes. Residents said it has left them shaken.
The parking lot that we're standing in, I crossed through to get to my daughter's school. And to know that a plane crashed literally blocks away from my daughter's school, this is very devastating and very, very scary too.
The 6 people on board were Mexican, the country's president said in a post on X. Jet Rescue Air Ambulance is based in Mexico and licensed to operate in the U.S. A spokesperson for the company told CNN that the child was a girl on her way home with a final destination of Tijuana.
Yesterday at about 18:06 Eastern Standard Time, a Learjet 55, Mexican registration, X-ray Alpha-Uniform Charlie India, call sign Mike Tango Sierra 056, was destroyed when it crashed into a commercial and residential area shortly after takeoff from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, with 6 people on board, including 2 crew members.
The aircraft arrived at Northeast Philadelphia Airport around 2:15 p.m. in the afternoon. It was on the ground for a few hours and departed runway 24 at about 6:06 p.m. And it was, like we said, it was dark at the time and instrument conditions. The aircraft climbed to about 1,500 feet above the ground. We were looking at GPS data on the aircraft, a slight right turn followed by a slight left turn, and then a steep descent towards the ground where it crashed. The entire flight lasted less than a minute.
So I want to stress this was a high-impact crash, and the plane is highly fragmented. There is a substantial impact on the entire community. The debris field extends 4 or 5 blocks. And I do want to stress that this is an active investigation scene. The debris is scattered. It is very dangerous. And so I encourage everyone to stay out of the accident site. It's very dangerous. I do want to mention we are still looking for the cockpit voice recorder. We have located the 2 engines. But for the cockpit voice recorder, we are still looking for it. It could be intact, but likely it is damaged. It may be fragmented. So if there are citizens or business owners or others who find debris, please email the NTSB at witness@ntsb.gov. Now, I'm sure I will get questions about having 2 major accident investigations at one time. We are a highly skilled agency. It is not unusual for the NTSB to be investigating 2 major accidents. We have tremendous resources at both, and we will get to our findings, our probable cause, and our recommendations, and to a final investigative report. President Trump has been very, very supportive of the National Transportation Safety Board. I did brief the president this week, and he has indicated his strong support for the NTSB, which we appreciate, and we appreciate the resources we've been given. And certainly in our budget request, we will always hope for more. We'll see what comes.
Know this, we will find out what happened in both of those. We will find out what happened, and we will do everything we can to prevent it. But I don't want anyone to think because we are working 2 accidents. This is what we do. Week in and week out. Just today, a lot more people are paying attention to it.
Both the CVR and the FDR were downloaded successfully. The FDR contains about 400 parameters and is currently being analyzed by a FDR working group consisting of the NTSB, FAA, and PSA. At 8:47:39, a radio transmission from the tower was audible asking Pat 25 if the CRJ was in sight. 1 second later, the crew received an automated traffic advisory stating traffic. At 8:47:42, a radio transmission from the tower was audible directing Pat 25 to pass behind the CRJ. At 8:47:58, the crew had a verbal reaction, and FDR data showed the airplane beginning to increase its pitch. Sounds of impact were audible about 1 second later, followed by the end of the recording. The NTSB, FAA, and PSA. As previously stated, we know that the FDR and data provided indicated that the CRJ was at 325 feet, plus or minus 25 feet. We also, initial preliminary data right now indicates that on the tower's radar scope that was available to the controller, initial data indicates that he may have seen 200 feet. That needs to be verified. Our ATC group is working it. We will have more data available, but those are the initial indications.
And no indication for single engine land and sea, certified flight instructor, multi-engine instructor, and
the Pat 25 was within the lateral boundaries of a helicopter route. The ceiling of that route was 200 feet. As Member Inman said, we have not got the data out of the FDR for the Black Hawk at this time, but that's what we know.
Last year we had multiple accidents with 6 or more fatalities. We can verify it was on a training flight that would utilize night vision goggles. We do not know at this time if the night vision goggles were actively being worn, nor what the setting may be. Further investigation should be able to let us know if that occurred and what factor it may play in the overall accident. And for a little bit of context, this is a controller's worst nightmare. At the time of the accident, there were 5 controllers in the air traffic control tower cab at DCA. One was a local controller, which was handling not only helicopter, but fixed wing aircraft. The local controller also would be handling arrivals and departures close in airspace and the use of the runway. There was a ground controller, which was handling all aircraft and vehicles, not on the runway. In addition, there was a local assist controller. We will find out what happened, and we will do everything we can to prevent it. They were coming in on runway 1. As they were on approach, the air traffic controller said, "Can you accept runway 33?" That is not an uncommon occurrence at DCA. It creates an arcing of the flight path, so it's very normal. Pilots were able to discuss it. They accepted it. They appeared to be on a proper, at least, lineup at that time. So right now we'll evaluate it with all the other facts and data, but it is what it is at this point, I guess. Bryce has accumulated over 8,000 hours of flight time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The 4 to 5 second delay that you described, where was that?